Hello and welcome to the Saturn Moon bonus video. I'd like to start by talking a little bit about the type of astrology that I practice so that you understand where I'm coming from as I'm discussing these placements. I practice a paradigm called evolutionary astrology, and it's based on archetypal language. More specifically, the language of the soul's psychospiritual and emotional empowerment journey. Evolutionary astrology is based on the perspective that any evolution, change, or healing occurs within our emotional body. It is also based on the perspective that we, as humans, have an eternal consciousness within us, and this consciousness moves from life to life, seeking new experiences, seeking to evolve. I also call myself a Pluto astrologer at times, because Pluto is the basis of evolutionary astrology, meaning that Pluto is seen as the reason for our soul's incarnation, because it represents the soul's desires and attachments, meaning it is the most powerful part of our journey, but is also the most deeply unconscious. If we just take a brief look at the symbol that is Pluto, we see the circle of all that is, God, Goddess, universe, source, whichever word you choose to describe the all that is. Then we have the bridge of spirit and matter, where spirit and matter meet. And then we have the incarnation cross, which is the physical plane that we inhabit. I also see in a chart what I call karmic vapors. But if you don't necessarily subscribe to the belief that we reincarnate, you can also see this as genetic memories. Because regardless of whether you believe your own soul has come back multiple times, you can absolutely see in your lineage, in your ancestry, that there are genetic memories that get passed down and generational trauma. This is the symbol for Saturn. And Saturn in your chart represents your conditioning field. It represents much more than that, but for the instance of what we are using it for, I want you to think of it as your conditioning field, as the parts that shaped you and the things that were concrete in you. It also represents authority figures and lineage. The moon in evolutionary astrology is seen as your ego structure, the container that holds you. And the Saturn and Moon talk to each other, they work together, they are related to the Cancer-Capricorn axis. This gets a little deep, so I don't want to go too far into that and confuse anyone. But if you're new to evolutionary astrology or you're familiar with other types of astrology, this is a little different take on what the moon represents. It is definitely a part of your emotional personhood. It is connected to the mother and your nurture. But it is seen as, this is how I see myself on a moment-to-moment basis. And this is how I evolve part of my emotional body. When I look at a chart and I'm seeing the aspects between Saturn and the moon, I'm looking at the conversation that is happening between these two. This conversation tells me a lot about how these two placements show up in your life and how it gets expressed or potentially suppressed. And that's a lot of what we are going to be talking about and working through in this course. So knowing your particular Saturn placement, your particular moon placement, and how they talk to each other is very important. I want to bring this to you so that you can have this as a backdrop or in the background of your mind as you are looking at each of the modules and as you are processing through each of the reflections. Please feel free to come back to this at any time, review it again. It is deep stuff here that we're talking about, and it does take some time to digest. This is just a brief overview to help you understand that my perspective of coming into it and how I'm describing it to you.